Friends, this is from the YouTube channel of our Globe Today Views and News. We today are talking about something which happened last night. I am in right now in Canada and Toronto time. So for me, last night I would say is the night of 23rd in Jerusalem and probably the night of 23rd or the day of 23rd in Kazan, Russia. Now, what happened was something of great interest to all of us, and therefore I thought that I would mention it to you. What happened was at Kazan, the president of Iran, the president who was elected recently, he came up with a formulation saying that if anyone should attack uh, Iran and should bring any harm to the Supreme Leader Khamenei, uh, then he will face the consequences. Now, Abul Hassan Mani Sadr Masood Pezeshkian, the president of Iran, is a surgeon, a heart surgeon, and therefore a logical man. And I assume that whatever he said had a lot of thinking and a lot of meaning. Therefore, what he was trying to say was if you attack Iran and if you were to bring harm to the supreme leader Khamenei, then is Iran will attack, attack with full force. Now, you see, as I said, I assume that Dr. Pezeshkian is a logical man. And when he says that if you bring harm to the supreme leader Khamenei, that means he knows that Israel has the capability. That Israel has the capability of attacking and bringing harm to the supreme leader. So what he said was, if you do any harm to the supreme leader Khamenei, then Iran will punish you. You will not go unpunished. Now, how will Iran punish? Iran has its facilities, the place where it, you know, place where he has the uranium enrichment plant, about 2,700 kilometers away from Jerusalem. So what it is saying is, I have the missiles which can go and hit you. He is also saying, I am likely to have the bomb, the atom bomb, which can hit you. But the whole world knows that Iran has many kilograms of uranium which is enriched up to 80%. And if you want to take some material out of that and enrich it to 99.9%, which is required for creating an atom bomb, then you require about 10 to 12 days of centrifuge working. Now, today it is not ready, that is known. And therefore, the only thing that he is telling is if you were to attack us, we will immediately assemble the bomb and send it to Jerusalem. That is not the way things are done. You have the missile which can attack Jerusalem, and you have proven it earlier. You also have the material, many kilograms of uranium, which has been refined up to 80%. But then you have to take material out of that for making one bomb. refine it again up to about 99.9%, and then make a bomb. So you have the capability, and in 10 or 12 days you can do it, but right now you do not have it. Which means what you're telling is in 10 to 12 days, we'll assemble a bomb and send it to Jerusalem. But that's not the way it is done. You will make the bomb, you will mount it on the missile, you will test it and see that the missile reaches the required place, and then only you will use it for attacking Jerusalem. Otherwise, you may send your missile and you don't know where it will go. It may, while you have sent it towards Jerusalem, it may not go there. It may go to any surrounding place and then hit and bring harm to, let's say, some refinery of Saudi Arabia or maybe even some refinery of Iraq. So, therefore, this is something which is not done in that way. You have to do the job, test it. Once you have tested and you are sure, then next time you can do it for sending it to Israel. If you are going to do it immediately after you have assembled the first bomb, mount it on your missile, then the only thing you can be sure is that it will hurt someone. Whether it will really reach Jerusalem or whether it will reach some other place will be a question. So, what is it that the president is saying? He is essentially telling the world, please stop Israel from attacking Iran in such a way that the supreme leader is brought to any harm. Implied in this particular statement is the fact that Iran accepts that Israel has the technology to be able to hit the supreme leader directly. Now, the thing is, with that acceptance and in this particular statement, therefore, the president of Iran is pleading, he is requesting the rest of the world to stop Israel. And the most important person who can stop Israel is Biden, the president of United States of America. He is trying to do so. In fact, he has already told the Prime Minister of Israel to stop the war in Gaza. And why is he doing so? Because a good amount of support for the president is, for President Biden in the voting on 5th of November, is from people who do not want the Gaza people to be harmed, who want an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. And therefore, it is in President Biden's interest to see that the war is stopped immediately in Gaza. And therefore, that's what Biden has been telling the Prime Minister of Israel. But the Prime Minister of Israel also knows that he has to do whatever he wants to do to stop Iran from building the atom bomb before 5th of November. Because after 5th of November, he may not be able to do so. The next administration may not allow the Prime Minister of Israel to mount such an attack on Iran. And therefore, it is both ways. President Biden makes open appeals to Prime Minister Netanyahu. Prime Minister Netanyahu listens to those appeals and he understands that he must do something before 5th of November so that the menace of an atom bomb in the hands of Iran can be eliminated. And therefore, if it is within his power, probably he is going to attack the nuclear facilities, the nuclear enrichment plant of Iran, which is at Natanz, which is at about 2,700 kilometers away. Now, let's see what happens because there are not many days between today and the 5th of November. And obviously, he's not going to wait up to 5th of November. He's going to do it as and when it suits him, as and when he senses that that would be the right time to mount the attack. So now, the basic idea that I understand from this whole thing is Israel does not want to buy a full scale war with Iran. Iran does not want to directly attack Israel, but to have the psychological satisfaction of its people who have been fed on the capabilities of the armies of Iran and who have always believed that the supreme leader is able to do anything in his spiritual powers as well as in his physical authority on the Iranian revolutionary guards, the guard corps, and also on the Iranian army. And therefore, they are very clear, the public is very clear that the supreme leader will do something in which they can take pride. And they want Israel to be finished because that's what the mental makeup is. That's how they have been taught during the last 20, 30 years. So the people of Iran have been brainwashed into believing that if Israel is destroyed, if all the millions of people in Israel are eliminated, then that will be good for Shias and also good for the Muslims in general. Now, with this kind of people and with leaders who know that they do not really have the capability of harming Israel, the only way out is to tell the world that if you do not stop Israel, then we will send the atom bomb in whichever direction it goes. It will surely bring, a lot of harm to the countries around it, but we don't know who will be harmed. So, therefore, it is essentially an appeal for help, an appeal for stopping Prime Minister Netanyahu. President Biden, therefore, also goes on appealing to Prime Minister Netanyahu to stop the war and to bring the suffering of the people of Gaza to an end. So he is telling Israel not to extend the war with Lebanon and to stop the war with Gaza. At the same time, it is in US interest to finish off the nuclear capabilities of Iran. And therefore, if Israel should succeed in doing that, maybe President Biden will not be so unhappy. We don't know. President Biden, as well as the previous President Trump, they had tried a lot to discuss and somehow bring Iran to the idea of not doing further refinement of uranium. They had tried to, remove the idea of making an atom bomb from the mind of Iran. But of course, they did not succeed. But if Netanyahu should finish off the refinement facility of Iran, and to rebuild them takes time, takes years. So if he should finish off the present facilities, it may be something about which USA may not be very unhappy. Israel, of course, does want to buy a direct war with Iran. And see, there is no war which will not bring suffering to the people. So it doesn't want to have a direct war with Israel, with Iran, and Iran also doesn't want to have a direct war with Israel for the simple reason that Iran does not have the capability. So this is the kind of thing which was said over there. But this is not the only thing. There was another article which was published in Jerusalem Post. And what did this article say? This article said that there is a group of people who should not be harmed by the government of Israel. And who are the people? The supreme leader of Iran, Ali al Sistani of Iraq. Then again, Yahya Sinwar of Gaza. Of course, as you know, Yahya Sinwar has been eliminated. Hezbollah Deputy Secretary General Naim Qasim, because the Secretary General was already eliminated, so the Deputy Secretary General. It seems that Naim is also eliminated. Then the Houthi leader, Abdul Malik al Houthi, and of course, the commander of the Quds Force, Ismail Khani. So the article says that these people should not be harmed. Why would the people who write for Jerusalem Post publish such an article on 23rd? Is it that they have some information which we don't have? That the government of Israel is trying to uh, harm the supreme leader of Iran? Or it is only something which they have themselves thought about? Because on 12th of October, the Lebanon Hezbollah had sent a missile into the private residence of Netanyahu. Netanyahu has a private residence in Caesarea. Caesarea is an area which is just below the Haifa port and just a few kilometers away from the border of Lebanon and Israel. Now, normally, the Prime Minister of Israel stays in Jerusalem, and that particular private residence is used only occasionally, probably at weekends, for him to go and live over there. So, this particular missile, which was sent on 12th of October, probably was sent with the idea to send a message saying that we are capable of doing it, but we are not doing it to you. Now, the thing is that correspondingly, on 1st of October, Israel did something which was not expected. What Israel did was it it arranged to see that the Secretary General of Hezbollah was incapacitated. So what they did was they did something unusual. As I had said earlier, and I have written in some of the articles, what had happened was that the Iranians were worried that their smartphones were being penetrated by the forces, by the Israeli forces, because the Israeli forces have a very good system of cyber security penetration systems. So they were afraid that their smartphones were being penetrated, and therefore Israel knows about those things. So what they did was, about 6 or 8 months back, they decided to go back to an old technology. The old technology is used even today in places where you do not have the mobile phone facility, the far off places where, let's say, you have someone sitting at a remote island and you have to send a message to him. You send a message, and the other fellow picks it up and he says hello. When he says hello, then you also start your phone and say hello. So it is not a continuous discussion, it is a discussion one by one. And this old technology is not really used very much, but it is available for this kind of rare use. Now, the Iranians thought that that may be a safer technology, and therefore they went to the Taiwanese company, which under whose name these things are manufactured and sold. They went to the company and said, "We want to purchase a few thousand pieces." Now, the company said, "Well, we have two manufacturing facilities in Beijing and in Pakistan, and they manufacture those things and assemble them for us." Now, the Iranians thought that they might do a wiser thing. They might assemble the whole thing themselves. So, they talked to a Bulgarian gentleman who is a Muslim and asked him to assemble these two parts brought from Beijing in Pakistan in Bulgaria. Now, this particular idea appealed to Iran because the fellow was a Muslim and Bulgaria is a Muslim country. Now, what happened was that the Muslim fellow from Bulgaria, he had already been contacted by the Secret Service of Israel, and he had been asked to set up a manufacturing company in London. But of course, the manufacturing facility was to be in Bulgaria. So this particular facility was created, and the uh, the parts from Beijing and Pakistan were received to be assembled in Bulgaria. Now, in Bulgaria, what was done was, in addition to these parts, a small component was added which had a little bit of explosive. And that explosive could be activated by heating up the adjoining IC by running it continuously for some time. And for running the device continuously, there was a small software change which was made. So, therefore, it was possible for Israel to activate and then to start the explosive. These phones are normally in the pocket, so if the phone should explode, it would definitely bring some harm to the person in whose pocket the phone was, and therefore it may incapacitate those people for some time. So, sometime around 1st of October, Israel decided to activate these particular devices. And they did so because they came to know that Hezbollah was trying to repeat what was done on 3rd October 2023, to repeat it, probably a better version of that, in 2024. So, therefore, before they could do it, the Israelis activated these particular explosives, and the explosives, went off in the pockets of the leaders of Hezbollah. And naturally, when in your pocket some such device explodes, you are going to be incapacitated at least for some time. That is what happened. Now, why did they do it? Because they were afraid that on 3rd October, some big attack was to come, and the Israelis decided that that big attack may be bringing more harm than the harm that they will inflict on themselves by removing this particular window into what Hezbollah was up to. And therefore, on 1st of October, all these devices were exploded, and the idea was that all the top leadership of Hezbollah will be eliminated, at least temporarily. Now, this is something which was done around that time, and Hezbollah now had to return the attack. And so, what did they do? On 12th of October, they sent a missile into the private residence of Prime Minister Netanyahu. As I said earlier, in that private residence, he does not stay, and it is located only a few kilometers away from the border of um, Lebanon and Israel, and therefore it was possible for Hezbollah to do it. Uh, the TV showed that it did bring some harm to an outhouse in the Prime Minister's private residence, but it did not really do much of a harm to the main residence of the Prime Minister in his private home. Now, from the whole episode, it is very clear that the President of Iran does not want to extend the war. He doesn't want to have a war with Israel. It is also clear that Israel does not want to have a war with Iran, but it wants to eliminate the uranium enrichment facility of Iran. It is also clear that the President of United States will prefer the war in Gaza to stop so that the suffering of the civilians can be stopped. And he is hoping that if this happens, it may bring him some more votes from his own supporters, because a good number of supporters of President Biden do want that the civilians who are suffering due to the war in Gaza should be spared and some relief should be brought to them. On the other hand, it is also in the interest of Iran, in the interest of USA, if the uranium enrichment plant can be eliminated. So, therefore, if Prime Minister Netanyahu were to succeed in eliminating or in destroying the uranium enrichment facility of Iran, USA may not be unhappy. So the situation is like this: that Iran, Israel, USA, they all want the same thing: not to have a larger war, but at the same time, Israel wants to destroy the uranium enrichment facility, and USA also wants it. So this is where the situation is, and right now we do not know what is going to happen. But the whole thing is, if at all it is going to happen, if at all Israel has the capability and is able to destroy the uranium enrichment facility of Iran, it will do so before 5th of November. And the other thing that we want to say is that basically what the Jerusalem Post has brought out is that they didn't want the main leaders of Iran and its militias to be brought to harm, because they thought that if we do so, the people, the Shias particularly, and even the others who have been activated and whose militias are strong enough to bring harm to Israel and its friends may unnecessarily be activated. So, therefore, this particular article talked about Ali al Sistani of Iraq. It talked about the person Yahya Sinwar of Gaza. It talked about the Deputy Secretary General Naim Qasim of Hezbollah, because the Secretary General had already been eliminated. Abdul Malik al Houthi of Houthis in Yemen, and the commander of Quds Force, Ismail Khani. Now, all of this was written in Jerusalem Post. Out of these, the Deputy Secretary General Naim Qasim and the Yahya Sinwar, Both are already no more with us. They have lost during the war. As far as Ismail Khani is concerned, there are conflicting reports about him. It seems that some people at the very top have become suspicious of Ismail Khani, and they think that Ismail Khani might have a pipeline open with Israel, and therefore they want to, find out whether it is truly so. It is said that Ismail Khani was, uh, you know, asked this particular question, and he had a heart attack when this particular question was asked. He, of course, denied any such thing, and he said that he was very loyal to the supreme leader. But a doubt has been created in the minds of the top leadership about the loyalty of Ismail Khani. In this particular situation, as far as we are concerned, we can only wait and see what happens. We can only wait up to 5th November, because in case something big is going to happen, and that something big will be, incapacitating or destroying the uranium enrichment facility of Iran, it may happen before 5th of November. And there was a news last night of a special kind of smoke which was coming out of the Natanz area where the uranium enrichment plant is located. We do not know whether it is the uranium enrichment plant which has been harmed, and therefore the smoke arose from below the in those tunnels where the uranium enrichment plant is located, or it may have arisen from the facilities where the parts for these centrifuges which are used for enriching uranium are developed. Those facilities are in the open, and there are two factories which do that particular job. And it is quite possible that because those parts can catch fire, maybe it is only those factories above the ground which have caught fire, and the smoke might have come from there. But anyway, it was a fairly big cloud of smoke, and therefore there is a possibility that some harm may have already come to the uh, uranium enrichment plant in the tunnels in Natanz in Iran. However, as is usual, Israelis will never say anything that their secret service had done, and we'll have to wait for this particular information to come from other sources, other reliable sources. Till now, we have no such information available to us. We'll come back to you as soon as this information is available. But the only thing I would say is uh, this particular incident shows that we need not be too worried about the world coming to an end. It shows that the leadership in all these countries is awake, and they know what they can do, and they do not want really to bring their countries to such a grief that it is difficult to get out of those situations. So we have something going on in Kazan at night of 23rd, and some 2,880 kilometers away, an article being published in Jerusalem Post, and correspondingly something going on in United States of America, and we can only put two and two together and come to a particular decision about what is likely to be the situation. So, with all our best wishes to the leaders who have assembled in Kazan, the Republic of Tatarstan in Russia, and to the persons who wrote the article in Jerusalem Post, and with our best wishes to all the people of the world. Thank you very much. I hope this information has been of some use to you. Thank you.